Hello and welcome, my plentiful goddess. I'm so incredibly excited to be here with you today. Today, I have a super special guest. She is Hina Khan, and she is a peak performance coach, a former psychotherapist, and a self made millionaire. And she is also my mentor. I am so grateful that she took an hour of her life to be here with us today. And honestly, I think this is one of my all-time favorite podcast interviews I've ever done, just because she, of course, has achieved so much and I look up to her so much. And the type of person that she is so different for me compared to a lot of other self-made millionaires out there, because she's very real and she's very down to earth, but she's also very relatable. And the way she speaks to you feels like she's directly speaking to you. And I said that to her as well while I was interviewing her, is that she has a very special gift of making you feel special. No matter how many people can be on a call, she makes you feel special. And that's something that is incredibly unique and something that we don't see a lot. So I'm very happy to have you with us here today. And I just also wanted to share a little bit of a sneak peek. In this episode, we will speak about how to create a life and business that you love. And this is something that I know Hina is very good at. And her teachings are out of this world, are something that has a very different approach to the way we can see life and the way we can create the life that we want, and of course the business that we want. So she has definitely impacted my life so much. That's why I'm so excited to share this with you, and I'm sure you will love it as much as I do. So let's just get started right here. Amazing, Hina. So I'm so excited to have you in the Plentiful Goddess podcast today with us. I wanted to ask you first, after I've given such an amazing introduction about yourself, how did you get into all of this work?
Gosh, did I get into the work or did the work get into me? I think that's really such an interesting question, because sometimes, I don't know if you find this, Jessica, that we're drawn to do the work that we need to do ourselves. And I've always been fascinated with people. I love people. I love hearing their stories. So when I first started to get into this type of work, it was really in the process of psychotherapy. I had been in therapy for many years myself, and you had to be in therapy before you could even do the training as well. So that was how I started, was in the traditional model of psychotherapy, doing my training there and healing parts of myself through that. And then wanting to do that with other people. So I became a psychotherapist, and then it evolved into coaching. And that's where I am now. But I think anything that I have taken my clients through, I have gone through. Every single thing they've gone through, I've gone through in some form or another.
Yeah, I love that so much. I also, a lot of times, I feel like our clients are like a mirror of ourselves in a way, right? And sometimes we see things in clients where we're like, oh yeah, maybe that's something that I actually also have to work on because it's coming up for me right now at this moment as well. How, like when I say, the work, a lot of people are like, what is she talking about? What does the work mean? And I know it because I feel like I worked with you for 6 months, and I've been part of your coaching program for 6 months, and we always talk about the work. So how would you describe the work when people don't really know what it is that we're talking about?
So the work that we do really focuses on the cause of your result. So if you want to create something different in your life, many times we're looking at the effects, the results that we have right now, what's in our bank account, the state of our relationships, our health. What we do when we're doing the work is we go to the cause. And the cause has to do with our mindset, our thinking, how we are thinking and feeling that ends up creating the results. So when we're talking about the work, we're doing what I think is really probably the hardest work, and that is working with our thoughts and being disciplined around our thoughts and being intentional about creating what we want. And then here's the kicker: taking 100% responsibility. That one is kind of tough. But if you want something different, we have to first take responsibility for the fact that we created what we have now, which is actually incredible, because if we've created what we have now, whether it was conscious or unconscious, we can create something different now, and we can create it consciously. So the work is really around the cause so that we can have the effect that we want.
Yeah. I love this because when I first found you, well, I didn't find you, my friend found you, and she, started working with you, and she started having these incredible results in her life and her business. I was like, that's interesting. And I had no idea what you were about, because I just saw your name, and then I joined one of your free offerings that you had. And I was like, this is so different from what I've known and what people usually tell me, right? Because when I started my business, I would go to so many business coaches giving me the right strategies of like, hey, this is what you have to do, and do this and do that. And here I was feeling stuck with my results over and over again, and feeling like, even though I was kind of successful for what I was doing, it wasn't there was something missing, and I just couldn't understand why until I started working with you. And then it all started to click. And you already also mentioned that the mindset is pretty much everything. It's like the key to everything. So can you dive a little bit deeper as to why mindset is so much more important than the strategies, everything that the world would always tell us to do? It's actually, it always starts with you, right? So can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Absolutely. So we always say it's 95% mindset and 5% strategy. So you could be told, Jessica, if you do this, this, and this, you will see the results of this person because they're doing that exact same thing. And you could do it and you don't get the results, and you're like, I don't understand. I'm doing the exact same thing, but you don't have the same beliefs or thinking as that person. And so it's never the strategy, it's the mindset behind the strategy. And I think that this is why we get so frustrated, because we think, but I'm doing all the things that I'm told to be doing. And I always say, when people ask me, like, what is your strategy? I say, the better question, or the more effective question, is how do you think? What do you believe? Do you believe that this strategy is going to work for you? Do you believe that it can be easy? Because that's what you want to uncover, because that's where it all starts. And so the other thing that you find, and this is very interesting, because there are people that join my program, they see people getting incredible results, and they have different results. And they have different results because different things come up that they need to work on first to make room for the other things to work. So sometimes it's like that strategy isn't working because of stuff happening in your personal life. And I know it can sound a little bit strange if you're hearing this for the first time, but I hope it actually makes you feel a little bit better to know that if you find, like, I don't know, the strategy works great for everybody else, but it doesn't for me, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because you don't have the thinking and the beliefs that that person does, which is why that strategy works. Or there could be something else in the way that you need to clear up first, so you can allow that strategy to work. Because let's say that strategy works, and now you're inundated with clients. Now you're inundated with money. You may not be ready for it. You actually may not be ready for it. Your systems might crash. You may feel like you burn out. You may feel like you actually wouldn't be able to handle it. So, and maybe you feel like, oh yes, I want all of this revenue, but you're having trouble with the money that you have now. You're not even managing that in a way that would allow more to flow to you. So it's so easy just to look at the results, but we have to look at all of these other things that could be going on that you are unconsciously not allowing the strategy to work.
I love that you say that, because that's actually what happened to me. I came to you because I was like, okay, I want my business to grow. And then it didn't happen. And I was like, okay, why is this not happening? But when I started talking to my partner, who sees me every single day of my life, he started to tell me that he started to see changes in the way that I was waking up in the morning, in the way that I was speaking to myself, in the way that I was so much more like easeful and joyful with life. Because before that, I would like be super anxious and super like mad and nothing was working out. But here I was, he said that to me, that I was changing. And I didn't even realize that that was happening. And when you say that, it's true. I don't think when I started working with you that I was ready to have a revenue explosion how I wanted it to have, because there were so many more internal things that had to fall into place first before I could, what you said, be ready to be that person that I want to become.
Yeah,
Right?
100%, Jessica. And it's like this is so good. And I think that this is going to give a lot of your listeners relief, because the changes can show up differently. It's easy to measure, like someone went from 30,000 to 300,000. That has happened. But it's like, what is the return on investment on peace, on feeling calm, on loving yourself, on being happy with who you are, on feeling good? And now imagine what you will attract from that place. Not only will you start to have the things that you desire, but you'll be able to keep it because you feel worthy of it. So you don't even have to give it away right away or spend it all right away, because it's difficult to be with so much good. Do you know that sometimes for many of us, it is difficult to be with so much good? We are so uncomfortable with being with so much good because because we're used to the crumbs. We're used to the lack. That's where we can feel like I can be here. I can set up camp here. But you're going to ask me to set up camp where revenue is consistent, where I have a team or I have people supporting me. Well, I've got to get my internal landscape adjusted to that, because I don't even know what that's like. So what you'll find is that when the next piece happens, and it will for you, it will actually feel very natural because you're already there. It's just a matter of it coming into the physical.
And I have to say, it's already happening. I start to see that finally, like, the goal that I had when I started with you is now starting to manifest because of all of the work that I've done with you, which is so crazy to think. But thinking back 6 months ago, I really don't think I was ready. I didn't know the things that I now know, which helped me to become the person that I want to be. And I love to see this not only with myself, but also with all of your other clients when we connected on those Tuesday calls. And I saw all of the amazing wins that all of these people, have and had, and so many people share similar stories to this. And I think it's so empowering to, of course, be also surrounded by people that go through the same thing and have these same struggles, let's say, but you see them all grow together, and it's incredible. Now, I oftentimes I have people that tell me, because of course I work with you, sometimes let me rephrase that. When I'm around people that are in the same vibration, right, as you, for example, I feel like I can be totally myself, because my dreams don't sound crazy to these people, right? Like, I don't have to be scared to say, oh, I want to make a lot more money, or I want to fly a private jet, or whatever. That it's to people like you and everyone else around is like, yeah, okay, great, you can have it. But of course, if I speak to people that have never heard about these concepts before, and it's a complete new world to them, and I tell them, yes, you can have all the money that you want, they're like, but then aren't you grateful for what you have right now? Like, how do you explain? Sometimes I'm having a hard time explaining to them, like, no, it's you have to be grateful for what you have right now, but there's nothing wrong with wanting more. So how do you combine those two, of being grateful for what you have right now while it not being bad, wanting more and creating more in your life?
I think when I really understood, Jessica, that wanting more was actually natural and normal, and part of our beingness is to want more, desire more. I mean, that's how we went from phones attached to the wall to now being able to have a phone that we can walk around with. Did we need it? No. What did it come from? Desire. Desire. And desire is the unexpressed possibility within you. We were just told, many of us, that wanting was bad because, like you said, it was connected to being ungrateful. But really what I've learned is the two go hand in hand. When I live in gratitude. Gratitude is my beingness. And I'm in gratitude for what I have and I desire more. So we live in a very much either or, like I can be grateful or I can want more. But I feel I can be grateful and I want more. So the word and is really important to me in how I talk about these things. So the first thing is that it's very natural and normal for you to desire more. And that is one of the reasons that I actually share my success and the decisions that I make, from purchasing luxury brands to flying private to flying first class. It is because I did not see this when I was growing up. The people that I saw that had these were usually men, and they were usually a CEO or a CFO of a company. I did not know that it was available to me. I did not know it was okay to want it. And so I share it, especially for women, to be able to see that we belong in the front of the plane as well, if it's what we desire. So we can only know what we want if we can even know that we can have it. So many times we're saying, oh, that's not important, or I don't need that, because of judgments we have, but we've never tried it. We say things like, oh, designers, they don't really mean anything. I don't really need a designer thing. Of course you don't need it. You don't need as many pairs of shoes as you probably have. It's not about need, it's about want, and wanting is okay. And so when you allow yourself to think, what do I want? And you allow yourself to try things on, then you can decide if you like it or not. But so many of us are cutting ourselves off from the process because we have judgment on it, and we feel bad that we desire it or that we want it. You know, I was going to be doing some television tomorrow, and they were talking about the fact that during the pandemic, there were people that thrived, that did very well, and they feel guilty. And I said, isn't it amazing that people have done well? Because people have done well, they've been able to hold on to their business. They've been able to hire people. They've been able to hold on to their employees. They've been able to contribute to the economy. They've been able to spend money. They've been able to donate generously. It is a good thing. When you go into the hospitals and you see the plaques, or the wing that is dedicated to somebody, it is not dedicated to somebody that did not have money or did not want more. It was because that person wanted more, and they created a life, and they were in so much overflow that they were able to contribute to cutting edge research, to go into cancer hospitals. So we forget that part of it. We just think of it as one thing. But here's what I've come to know, is that you have to give to yourself first, and then you're an overflow to give to other people. And we've had it really backwards when we've made wanting wrong. Wanting and desiring more is beautiful, and it can be done through gratitude. And all it does is amplify who you are. So if you are a jerk and you have more, you're going to be a jerk that has more. But if you are a generous person and you have more, you know what, Jessica? It becomes more fun because you get a kick out of tipping the bill. You get a kick out of giving. You just want to give. It's all you want to do is help people, but you can't do it until you've done it for yourself first. So I think that it's time that we don't discount what we want, because what you desire and what you want, I think it's placed in there for you through spirit, and you have free will. You can choose to ignore it. You can choose to make it wrong, or you can choose to go for it. But I think that so many people are tiptoeing towards death, not wanting to ruffle any feathers, not wanting to come across a certain way. And that's a shame, because we have a cemeteries filled with books that were not written, things that were not said, you know, where we were living a really safe life. And when you start to do this, Jessica, and this is maybe what your partner has noticed too, just more of you comes to the surface. You love more. You just tell everybody how much you love them. You judge less because you're judging yourself less. You have more grace with people. You're kinder. You've got more patience. And you're not squashing anybody else's dream because you're not squashing your own. So go for what you want.
When was the moment for you? Because this podcast mainly women listen to, and it's really about empowering women to get out there and pretty much do it, whatever their dreams are. Of course, this is not the work you've done your entire life, and you haven't been on this path for your entire life. When was the moment in your life when you realized, or when maybe you had like a wake up where you're like, okay, my life's pretty good, but I actually do want more. When was that moment for you in your life?
Oh, Jessica, it was a very, for me, it came in a kind of a rock bottom moment. But I want to say very clearly that you don't have to have a rock bottom moment. You can just want more, and you don't have to have things be so bad before you decide that. For me, that's what happened. On the outside, everything looked really amazing in my life. On the inside, things were falling apart. And what I mean by that is I was having these dreams, Jessica, that, you know, when your unconscious really wants to get your attention and it's trying everything. And for me, it came in the form of dreams. So this was years ago. And I had these dreams that there were all these empty alcohol bottles under the bed. And that day, I just felt like something was off. So we had a young child who was about 2.5, and Paul was dropping me off at work to go do something. And I just felt like something was off. And I'd had that dream. And I'd been trying to phone Paul during the day. And I don't know if you ever find this, Jessica, but, and I think as women, we're really good at this. When you've got to be on somewhere, you can kind of compartmentalize. And it was like, so nobody where I was would know that I was really preoccupied with something, but inside I felt sick. Like I was so good at this, at managing this. And, you know, to make a long story short, what ended up happening was Paul ended up getting charged with a DUI, drinking and driving, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My whole world fell apart. We separated, and I had to take responsibility. And you may be thinking, but what was your responsibility? You weren't the one drinking. But I knew. But I was so hell bent on living this life that looked so good and being perfect. And I don't know, having this facade of a life and living other people's dreams of what a perfect life looked like. And I had to take responsibility that my intuition was telling me something was up, but I didn't want to look at it because I didn't want to face it. And so I took responsibility for that. Paul did go into treatment. We did end up getting back together, and things have been wonderful. But in that moment for me was when I decided I'm not living for anybody else. I'm living for me. My goals are important. What I want to do in this life is important. And that was probably a real turning point for me. And that's what I decided. I wasn't going to be the person fixing everybody else. I was going to focus on me. And also, Jessica, I would say I made the decision that my well-being was my top priority. Now, I'm going to say this, and some of your listeners may have a hard time with this. My well-being is my top priority more than anybody else in my life, including my children and my husband. And I say that as a mother, and I say that as a wife. Because what am I going to give them anyways? You know, so but I made that as a conscious decision that my well-being is my top priority.
Of course, because if you're not well, how are you supposed to be there for others? It's impossible.
Yeah. And also, Jessica, I decided it's not a badge of honor. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Making sure everybody else is taken care of and I'm the last on the list, not a badge of honor. Being a martyr and being resentful because I'm putting everybody else first, not a badge of honor. So what I choose is that we will create through ease, joy, and fun. You know, I like to say the more I rest, the more I make. I'm not going to burn myself out. We're going to create through rest and relaxation and not feel guilty about it and not feel like I'm only worthy if I have suffered. And I decided that I am worthy when it comes easy. In fact, that's what I want the benchmark to be, is that it's easy.
I think for so many listeners, listening to this right now, they're going to be like, how do you create a business like yours with ease and fun and joy? Like, that's impossible. Like, you have to work 24/7, you have to work until, I don't know, midnight. How do you do that? How do you create a life, the kind of life that you have and the kind of business that you have, without having to suffer, without having to work super hard every single day?
The first thing I had to do, Jessica, was accept a belief that it was possible. Because, especially, I think maybe we are hearing it now more. I feel like it is out there more, but for sure, when I was starting out, it was very much you hustle and you grind. But not only that, like, there is pride in that too. Like, it's a good thing to be hustling and grinding, and you want to share how you hustle and you grind and you work all hours, and that's how you're worthy of it. So the first thing I had to do was accept the belief that if everything I believe is true, what do I want to believe? And what I wanted to believe was that I can create a multi-seven-figure business through ease. Well, what does that look like? What that looks like, that I am using my higher faculties to create. What that means is I am going to the cause. So I'm not only spending time doing the thing, like creating the program or coaching clients, but I'm also spending time visualizing, writing out my goals. So what I'm actually doing is I'm getting my subconscious in harmony with what I want. And it's like what great athletes do is they visualize themselves hitting that perfect home run, or in football or soccer, as you say, football, getting the goals. They're actually visualizing themselves. Their coaches will have them do it. Why are they doing that? Because then their subconscious even knows the micro movements that their body must go into for them to hit the ball at a certain angle without even having to think about it, because they've done it so many times. So the way that I do it with ease is I'll go and just lie down. And so before, I had to change my feeling about that, because I would judge myself as lazy. I thought working was when I was doing my PowerPoint presentations, and that is part of it. But most of it I am doing when I'm engaged. If you were looking at me, you would think I don't work much. But I'm using my mind, I'm using my mental faculties, and I'm choosing to believe that the more I rest, the more I make. So the first thing was accepting the belief. And then if I accept the belief that I can create through ease, joy, and fun, a question I would always ask myself is, what if this was easy? Because I had to really retrain myself. So what if it was easy? Then I could start looking for the easier way. Well, what if it was easy? Well, what if I joined forces with somebody? What if I asked this person to help? What if I didn't have to do every single part of it? But you see, that's me allowing myself to let it be easy. So then I would ask myself that, and then I would look for the easier way. So now I've switched so much that, Jessica, if I'm embarking on something and it feels hard, I immediately stop. So even in my company, as I hire people, or I'm working with vendors and contractors, which you may be as well, I'm always looking at, if I'm starting to hear someone's name a lot, or there is a lot of drama, I want to nip that in the bud. We deal with it, or maybe that person is not the right fit. So I also look at where's the energy leaks in my company, in my business, in my life. And I also don't wait for something before, like, so many times we have a reward after we've worked hard. So I switched that up as well. And so even things like my calendar, Jessica, I always look at, like, where are my vacations? That's what I plot in first, and I'll build my life around that. So those are ways that I had to create a new paradigm and a belief that I can scale a business and it can be easy without me working very much. So then I also look at ways that I can attract clients without always having to do things in the typical model.
Now I'm curious, Hina, because of course you have achieved so much. A lot of people look up to you and they think, oh, wow, I want to have that life too, right? I want to fly in a private jet. I want to have all of the amazing things that he has and the amazing clothes, because I see them. And I love every single piece that you have. What do you visualize about now after you have already achieved so much? What is it that you visualize about?
That's such a great question. But I've never been asked that. That is such a great question, Jessica. So what do I visualize about now? Well, right now we're playing with the number of 1 million a month. So then I have to think of myself, okay, who is Hina at 1 million a month? And again, I'm not looking at what am I doing? I'm looking at like, what does 1 million a month Hina think? What does she feel? How does she treat people? You know, and to be honest, it's not much different than now, but that's kind of what I am playing with. And I'm like, okay, how would I be traveling at 1 million a month? What would my team look like? What would be all I want to do, all you want to do, Jessica, is give things to people. Here's the thing. You then reach a point when you've had it yourself that you want others to experience it. So in a lot of my visualization, I have to say it's really about other people and doing things with other people at this point. Now, when I was first thinking of 1 million a year, I remember not knowing, what does a person that makes that think or believe? So I did have some friends that were doing that. So I actually asked them, and then I made how they showed up. I actually wrote that as me, as my self-image, and made that part of what I would visualize, because I really didn't know what it would be like what would my days look like? How would I want it to look like? So things even like a private jet, which I've now done, before it was first class. And I didn't even know what that was like. So I would ask people, like, what is it like when you fly first class? And they're like, well, first you go into a line of priority boarding. And then do you know that there is a club at the airport that you can go to so that you can wait there? And usually there's food there and drinks there. So all of this stuff I would have to find out about, because I really didn't know. So I didn't know how to connect with it. And then, yeah, and then you're boarded first. And then when you arrive, you get a menu. You get a menu at the front of the plane. So here's what was so fun, Jessica. I just took my team on a retreat to Mexico. And I flew some of my team members back first class. And I was so enthused to do this because we were in a pod. It was not a long flight, but we were in a pod. So my COO, Gabby, she's never flown first class before. She didn't even know about it. And here's the thing, Jessica, it never even crossed her mind to fly first class. Like, this is what I'm saying, is that if you're listening to this, does it even cross your mind to look at first class? Or do you just automatically, if you're booking a trip, automatically go to economy? And I didn't go from economy to first class. I went from economy to paying for a seat that had more leg room, to then going to premium economy for one way of the flight, to then going to first class to one way. So I'm just saying, it may seem like it's right to this. It wasn't for me. There was a process that I had to acclimatize. It would have been way too much for me to go from back of the plane to front of the plane. So here's the thing, Jessica. Gabby gets really sick. She has horrible motion sickness. She pretty much throws up on the plane all the time. And it's horrible. And when we flew back, first of all, she was like, I've never seen anything like this. Do you understand? I have tears as I think about this. It's not about the thing. If we can get the idea of greed and evil and bad out of it, we'll open up a whole world for us. So she said, Hina, this is the first time I have ever flown, ever in my whole life, without being sick. Jessica, it was, and I could give that gift to her because I have money. That's it. Like there's really, and it amplifies who I am, and I'm a generous person. Like, there's no two ways about it. We can try to make it about something else, but it's because of that. But here it gets even better, Jessica. She then says, my mom has wanted to go back home to Italy, but I've never known how am I going to send her? She's older. I just realized I can send her with my son in a pod. He can go with her. She'll be so comfortable. So, do you see what happens? So, my expansion that led to me giving her an expansion. Now she's going to do an expansion for her mother and her son. This is why when you want and you desire more, it expands the world. And you don't know who you're inspiring or how you're touching people. Now it's going to get even more powerful for her because I'll tell you something. It's one thing to have somebody do it as a gift for you, which is amazing. But it is another thing to do it for yourself. That is a whole other level. And when she does this for herself now, and then for her mom and her son, that is going to be when she really steps into her power. What the hell the question was, Jessica, but I feel like that would have answered somebody's question.
It did. I even get teary myself because of how amazing of a ripple effect, it creates is when you take care of yourself and then you can take care of others. And same here, like I have these big dreams as well of wanting to support my family with, the money that I will be making. So I can relate to that. And I know it's going to happen, right? I know I will have these moments as well where it feels like, hey, it's worth it to believe in yourself as well. I think that's one of the big parts as well. A lot of times people don't believe that they are able and capable of doing it, right? Because of course they've heard so many other things all of the time. And we've been so programmed to believe that it's only possible for a small percentage of the world. I wonder though, because you were also saying, you were asking people, how is it to fly first class? How is it to fly with a private jet? Where do you find these people when you're like, I have no idea who am I supposed to ask? Where do you find them?
When you could ask me. So you do know people, right? So it's interesting because as you start to, if you do desire this kind of life, if it's something that you want, you're going to find that you're going to start to, and this actually becomes very challenging for people. My circle has changed. It really has. And it's not because I'm better than anybody else. It's because I'm just at a different level of awareness. And it's like you were saying of who you can share your dreams with, right, Jessica? So I have friends that I've had for 20 plus years that we are still very, very good friends. They support me exactly where I am. They get a kick out of it. They love it. And I love them. And we have a great time together. And then there's some people that are not part of this season of my life. And that's okay too. They don't relate to me and I don't relate to where they are right now. So you've got to be willing. And this is the part that can be tough for people because they feel like they're a bad person. There are sometimes you're going to have to be willing to make room for new people that have new ideas and new thoughts and surround yourself with that. And what you'll find, so what I found was that my circle just started changing. And then I did start to be around people like this, which makes sense actually. Now these people are my very good friends. And it would kind of have to be like, I couldn't really be the way that I was and spending the majority of my time with a certain group and yet expect that I would have this. So now for my friend group, my colleagues, this is the way that we travel. These are the conversations that we have, and it is normal to have that. But there's going to be a time when you're not in that world and you're not quite in your old world and you feel really lost.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going sometimes through that phase of like, oh, where do I belong? Because of course you're working on that.
Yeah, Jessica. And the friend that you were talking about, that we both know that was a client of mine, she just moved. Like sometimes also what you'll find is you'll move and it's not about moving into a better house or anything like that, but you may even just move your environment. You want to be in maybe a bit of a different environment. One of my clients in Australia who went from, what she called the moldy house into a penthouse. Before she went to the penthouse, her step was to rent in a slightly better neighborhood. that was more of a match, and then to where she was. So you see, you'll just start to find that you'll do these little things, but what's going to try to trip you up and hold you back is, who do you think you are? You don't really need that. What, you think you're better than these people? No, you don't think you're better than these people. You're different. You're just at a different level now, and you want something different.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's for a lot of people, it's like, okay, so what do I do first? Do I first make the decision to become the person that I want to? Or do I first like wait for the right moment? You know what I mean? It's like trying to like, okay, do I buy the house without having the money and then eventually it's gonna catch up? Or how do you know for yourself, okay, this is the right choice that I need to make right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. There would be clients that I would say I want to quit my job now and go all in on my dream. And there would be clients that I would think, no, don't do that. And there's others where it's like, yeah, go for it. It depends on if taking that action is going to stress you out so much that it actually creates a pressure that stalls you, because it's actually amplifying to you what you don't have. Oh my God, I just spent all of this money. Or, oh my God, the mortgage is going to be coming up. Oh my God, and that's what you're focused on. So for some people, it's like, no, is there a step in between? For others, it's a yes, because they're able to do it and then have the belief behind it and be like, yeah, I know I'm going to do this. And even if they feel a little wobbly, they can get themselves back on track. So what I always say is, what is something that you can do that you can get your energy behind? That's a stretch, but not going to stress you out so much that you sabotage it. Because your dominant feeling will always be confirmed. So if your dominant feeling is, yeah, but I always try it, I do programs and they never work for me, or your dominant feeling is like, yeah, I'm gonna quit my job, but I'll may have trouble, that will be confirmed.
Yeah, that's very true. I remember I was once part of one of your, I think, a free money masterclass, or what you did. And you also asked the question of like, okay, so how much money would you want to make? And it's like you gave an exercise to find the sweet spot where what you say is not stressing you out too much, but it's a stretch and you can actually get to it if you just, have the right mindset. Now we're slowly getting to the end, and I could talk with you forever, you know that. But of course, we also know that you worked with Bob Proctor, who was one of, or your mentor, your amazing mentor. And I wanted to, of course, involve him in one question because of, I'm sure you could say that as well, that he was, I guess, the turning point in your life as well, and why you are where you are right now. And this is probably going to be a very tricky question, but if there was one thing that you have learned from Bob that has really changed your life, only one thing that you could point out, what would it be?
Selling is not something you do to somebody, it's something you do for somebody. He really taught me to be proud of selling. That made the difference in my business. I had very negative feelings about selling. It's slimy, swarmy. I don't want to be pushy. Well, that's gonna hold my business back, those feelings. He always said that, when he would travel, they would ask you, what is your occupation? And he could say motivational speaker, founder of Proctor Gallagher Institute, CEO, all of these things. He would always write professional salesperson. He took so much pride in that, because he said, when you're selling, you're serving and you're helping people. That hands down has been huge for me. And then being able to spend so much time with him, just really seeing the way that he lived. He was probably one of the most generous people I have ever met. So also seeing this example of somebody so wealthy and so generous.
I love that so much. I'm sure it has been an absolute honor being so close to him. And you were friends as well, right? Like you were actually so that is incredible. And of course, I want to thank you as well, because in some kind of way, I felt connected to him as well, because we even had that one session where it felt surreal, to be honest. So that was absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you as well, because I'm sure people tell you, but the way you make people feel is like everyone is important. It's not that I am worse than someone else because I don't make as much money as you, but you really have the gift of making everyone important in the room. And even though you have a lot of clients in these calls, it doesn't feel like there are a lot of people, because you really are there for every single one of them. Every single one of them. I have no idea how you do that with so many people, that you really remember people and you know them. So I want to thank you so much for your work and the impact that you have, and the impact that you had on me, and the impact that you have on all of these amazing people. And I can't wait to see even more success in your life. And I'm, a very happy follower to see all of it. And I'm always on Instagram seeing all of it. So I saw that you took your team to like a beautiful shopping experience. I see it all and I enjoy it so much. So thank you so much. For the listeners, I'm going to link everything in the show notes, how you can find Hina, how you can work with Hina. So please go down there, follow Hina, work with her, because it's going to change your life, how it changed mine. So thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I hope that one day I will see you in real life.
Oh, we will. We absolutely will. Whether you come to this area or I come to you, I think I'm due to hit Europe soon and see you. I would love that. Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
Yes, thank you so much.